Hey there, welcome back to the Path to Zion podcast, where we are rediscovering the ancient way. Thank you for returning for part 4, which is probably going to be the conclusion for our ongoing discussion about asking the question, what is sin biblically? Not our opinions, but what does the Word say? And we've done some word studies. We have looked at the examples of being trained in righteousness. We just talked in part 3 about how Messiah, as a young man, would go to the temple and he would listen to the Torah teachers and he would ask questions, and he grew in wisdom and he learned, I would say, how to walk in righteousness, because that's what takes place when you study Father's instructions. And we established that as a biblical pattern, whether we've inherited that or not, that we have been told clearly that the Torah and the prophets are good for all these manner of things for our good, for instruction, for reproof, for correction. They train us how to walk as a righteous man, pleasing in the eyes of the Father. No matter what we've been told, that is what is true. And so we have to humbly submit to what the Word says, even when that lands in a place in us that disagrees with our inherited doctrines and beliefs. Some people can set that aside and some cannot. I would encourage you, as one who has set that aside, to do your best to only allow the Word to define what you believe and why, which is why it is of utmost importance that we look at this question and then answer it the best that we can concisely about what sin even is. Now, I have to address this. I have to be responsible. I don't claim to be a teacher, but if you're going to be really literal about it, I have my Bible out, I have notes, I have studied, and I'm presenting this for you to consider. I say that in humility, not in a thus saith the Lord type manner. I'm saying take your time to do the studies I've done with all the scriptures we put on the screen every time, and see if you arrive at the same conclusion. That's your decision and not mine. We have to individually discern what the Word is saying, and we have to yield to it the best way that we can in the moment, and hopefully continue in maturation and change along the way. That being said, I still have to be faithful to be responsible to present the whole package, if you will, for those who say, I'm not going to believe that. For those who say, no, that can't be true, and place their feet in the sand and pour concrete because I know better. I know it's different now. I can't necessarily formulate why. I have some verses I can cherry pick and apply to this that have some holes and flaws, but I'm not movable. I'm comfortable here. I won't change. I have to address this matter because it's very sobering. We have to consider that. Should that be you? If you think, well, it's different now, what you're saying, even though you've presented the Hebrew and the Greek both in the Newer Testament as well, I don't believe that's what it means. That's not how I see it. We have to be fair. If you want to just choose to believe that you're just a Gentile sinner who's been grafted in, saved by grace, there's nothing for you to do now except bask in the finished work of Jesus. That's the ones I'm most concerned about, okay? Biblically speaking. Judgment is prophesied for those who do not believe that there is a mark to strive for and who fail to see pursuing hitting it, in my opinion, according to the Word. And we're going to talk about that for the next few minutes. We're not going to finish on a downer, but this has to be said. We primarily see this in the New Testament Greek in this word anomia that we talked about. Anomia, hamartia are the two highlights of this study after we looked at the Hebrew at the very beginning. Judgment comes into play here for those who resist this. Anomia is translated very simply, easy to understand, as lawless. Okay, lawless. It is literally defined as, quote, transgressing and violating the law. Anomia. Okay? To be clear, there's a vast difference between two primary camps of consideration. Number one, humbly admitting that, yes, of course, we all miss the mark, yet I will still pursue holiness and model my life after Messiah's obedience. I will practice righteousness, okay? And equally, I will admit that I missed the mark, both. But it doesn't prohibit me from moving forward, nor does it just cause me to just bask in God's kindness all the time and do nothing about it in response to His wonderful gift of His law, of His instruction. The other camp is number 2. We're all wretched sinners. We're all saved by grace anyway. So let's just kind of wait for the hereafter and enjoy God's gift of salvation now. Anomia, or lawlessness, is frequently used to define those who have, as the word simply states, abandoned law. This is not complicated. I have these discussions with people. Well, but how I see it is this, and friend, it doesn't matter how we see it. It does not matter. Well, my opinion, friends, when you read lawless in the Bible, you don't have to be a Hebrew nor Greek scholar to understand that that means no law. You're without a law. Okay? Lawlessness, even in a dictionary, is those who do not have a law to live within. Okay? This is not complicated. This is no twisting of you're twisting the Hebrew, no, this is not complicated. Anomia is all over the New Testament, okay? Because it's a Greek word. Anomia is everywhere. Matthew chapter 13, verse 41, the Son of Man will send forth his angels, and they will gather out of his kingdom all stumbling blocks and those who commit lawlessness. Anomia, okay? So this word anomia is those who do not need to live within the confines of a set and secure and solid law. Black and whites, okay? People would say legalism. People who say, I don't need a law now. I have Holy Spirit, and I don't do anything. It doesn't matter what I eat, what I don't eat, where I go, nothing matters anymore. In Jesus. I'm just in Jesus, brother. I just love Jesus. My whole life is about loving Jesus. Friends, you have to reckon with the Word. You have got to submit humbly to the Word. You've got to be willing to hurt a little bit towards your I just love Jesus now theology. Because this says all of those who commit lawlessness, anomia, sin, okay, are going to be gathered and removed. Okay? There's no way around it. So in Matthew chapter 7, verses 22 and 23, Yeshua says this, many are going to say to me on that day, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name? And in your name cast out demons? And in your name perform many miracles? Verse 23, then I will declare to them, I never knew you. Leave me, you who practice living without a law. Friend, this should be very sobering. I'm telling you, the message of this hour from popular Christianity is you are free. Don't you let anybody put you under a heavy hand of condemnation. God's law was done away with in Jesus. He set you free from that burdensome law that no man could keep. Go out and be free and love Jesus. Friend, according to the Word, you cannot love Jesus. You cannot know Messiah. More importantly, you cannot be known by Messiah if you live practicing lawlessness. That is what he said in Matthew chapter 7, not me. This goes right back to our 1 John text. No one who wanders from the law of Yahweh has seen Messiah or knows Messiah. 1 John 3:6, same thing. If you practice lawlessness, if you live a lifestyle that says you are wandering from the law of Yahweh, there is no more law. Yeshua said, you won't know him, and most importantly, here in the Matthew text, Matthew 7, he will not know you. Friends, this is a sobering warning of judgment. There's no way around it. This has to be said. Matthew 23, 27, and 28. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites. Now he's talking to the teachers, those who should have been training people in righteousness, but were training them in their own exalted ways instead. You're hypocrites, for you are like whitewashed tombs, which on the outside appear beautiful, but inside they're full of dead men's bones and uncleanness. Verse 28, so you too outwardly appear righteous to people. You're talking like you know me, but inwardly you're full of hypocrisy and anomia. You on the inside now, and this is the thing, this is such a mind-splitting, crazy thing. Christianity and non-believing Pharisaism are twin sisters. They're identical, friend. Identical. As much as Christianity hates the Pharisees, they think, It is an identical pattern because both have come along. I've said this in many different ways and different times. They both came along and created a new way to live that said, guess what? You don't need Yahweh's law anymore. You don't need his law. We have found a better way to live. We've talked about that endlessly here on the program. So Yeshua said, a judgment upon these. Woe to you, hypocrites. You look great on the outside. You look holy. Same thing as Matthew 7. You're casting out demons in this sense. You're performing miracles. But I don't know you. And then in chapter 23, to the teachers of the law, a different type of spirit of religion, but the same heart issue, same problem. Christianity and Pharisaism. You look all righteous out here, teacher of the law, but inside, you've abandoned and strayed from my Father's law. You're full of sin. You're lawless, anomia. Okay? Let's stay in Matthew chapter 24, verses 11 through 14. And many false prophets will rise up and mislead many people. And because lawlessness is increased, here we are, present day, most people's love will become cold. Odd statement, yes? But the one who endures to the end is the one who will be saved. Verse 14, this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all nations, and then the end will come. Why in the world would love grow cold when the law is removed? This is a deep one right here, friend, because most people say that law keeping, living under the heavy hand of God, under the law, is burdensome and cold and empty and hollow. Even though we just said that the teachers of the law that were hollow and empty, they were lawless. They weren't the keepers of the Torah in the sense that it needed eradicated because of these horrible false teachers. No, they were lawless men, anomia men. Likewise, how can we understand this question about how can love grow cold when the law is removed? Isn't the main message of this hour, love has replaced the law? Now we love Jesus and we love people because of Jesus' love through us. We're free. Now we know how to love. Jesus taught us how to love, right? You've heard that. Let me present a consideration for you that may be a bit of a curveball. I thought we're set free to love God and love others now, right? In Jesus' love. Not according to the Word. Not according to what the Word says. When man abandons Father's law and instruction, they lose the Creator's instituted ways to love as He defines it, friend, which is the only way to love. You love Him and you love your neighbor through the Torah and the prophets because every single thing hangs upon them. Yeshua said that clearly to us. Removal of the law. If you remove the law, you remove the love. How's that for a t-shirt bumper sticker phrase? If you remove the law, you remove the love, scripturally speaking, only according to the words of Messiah. Okay? Love will grow cold when lawlessness is here. When people abandon the law in sin, hamartia, love grows cold. It begins to disappear, friend. We have to redefine love. We have to redefine lovey-dovey, ooey-gooey. Oh, I feel Jesus. I love him so much. I saw a video the other day. This is like a romantic love affair with Jesus. She's on a stage with a microphone, friend, and everybody's crying. She's talking about her romantic relationship with Jesus. I don't know who she's talking about. I don't know what that is. I don't see that here. I see love intimately acquainted and cannot be separated from Yahweh's perfect law that restores the soul. I would go as far as to say that when men are void of Father's perfect Torah, mankind doesn't even have a chance to know what love even is. It all becomes discretionary and subject to each man's own definition. And guess what, friends? That is right where we are right now in 2025. So we're going to finish on a better note where we started. But let us keep in mind, judgment comes to those who abandon Yahweh's law. It is sin, friend. Lawlessness. Okay? The importance of a Savior who willingly denied himself in order to hit the mark must be our focus. The book of Hebrews, of course, highlights Messiah's purpose, his purpose for coming. All that he accomplished on our behalf was in order for him to enter into his role as our great high priest. Quote, Hebrews 4:15. For we do not have a high priest who cannot sympathize with our weaknesses. He knows the struggle of obeying, friend. He learned obedience by denying himself, enduring. It continues, but one who has been tempted in all things just as we are, yet is without sin. Friend, he was without wandering from and violating Yahweh's law. So, without sin, what have we established as we look back and kind of put a bow on this? What does this mean biblically, without sin? What is this emphasizing and attempting to teach us if we will listen? Messiah never abandoned or forsook his Father's law, his Father's instruction, ever. This is the importance, friend, of being in covenant and understanding the perpetuity of what Yahweh has been doing from the very beginning of creation, to have a set-apart people. In regards to our sin and our lawlessness, forever being removed in a prophesied age. This is what awaits us, friend. This. One day we will be free from sin. Not just, I won't want to do this and do that I know are my carnal, fleshly desires. Not just that, but also more. As we began at the very beginning of this series, the overreaching craving and desire that this flesh man has to break, disobey, wander away from, and violate my Father's wonderful law and instruction. That is freedom, friend. And that's what we're venturing towards incrementally as we walk in the likeness and the footsteps of our Messiah. This, I would say, is why we are in an atoned for condition now. We're awaiting a wonderful promise to come in fullness at a future age. A proper understanding of this makes sense of the temple system. Atonement then, atonement now in Messiah. This is why Messiah had to come. This makes sense of what he's doing now, what he will be doing in the future. This makes sense within the confines of the understanding of the millennial kingdom. The future New Jerusalem age, which we already talked about, the Torah will go forth from Zion. Why in the world? If Jesus removed the Torah, why is it going forth from Zion? In a perfect world where Yahweh is the light and nothing else is necessary, and his perfectly governing law is firmly intact for all of his family for eternity. Friends, the question at hand today, as we wrap this up, what is sin? Friend, this is about so much more than don't steal, don't lust after a woman, don't think bad thoughts. It's about so much more. This, friend, I would propose, is our yielding of our will in humility to the commands and the instructions of the Most High, just like Messiah did, and dare to believe that that is how you love Yahweh and how you love the Son. Hebrews chapter 8, 10, 11, and 12. For this is the covenant which I will make with the house of Israel after those days, declares Yahweh. I will put my laws into their minds. I will write my laws on their hearts. I will be their Elohim. They shall be my people. They will not teach. They're not going to need to teach each other anymore. Remember, instruct in the way. Yahweh will instruct us in the way. They will not teach each one his fellow citizen and each one his brother, saying, know Yahweh. Why? For they will all know me. From the least to the greatest of them. Oh, there's least and there's greatest. Oh boy, oh no. Least in the kingdom, greatest in the kingdom. Uh-oh. For I will be merciful towards their wrongdoings and their sins, their anomia, their lawlessness, friend, I will no longer remember. Friend, this is about more than your bad thoughts in your head or what you did wrong 20 years ago that's farther from the east than from the west. Friends, this is much, much deeper. Yahweh has promised for those who enter his covenant and who love him and love the Son in the way that they require, which is, if you love me, you keep my commands. Friend, there is a promise that we will be redeemed from our anomia. We will be redeemed from our hamartia. We will be redeemed from our rebellion, stiff-necked, wandering away from Yahweh's law. And guess what? We can start that now. We can start that now by learning his law and walking in what we see. Walking in what we see, friend. Do you see it? Oh, I hope so. Sin, what is it? It's missing the mark. It's falling short. This is why we're so thankful for our great high priest, Yeshua, who perfectly hit the goal. How? Clinging to his Father's commandments perfectly. Now we, following in his example, walk as he walked. We strive to be holy as he is holy. Friend, if you've got any questions about this, message us, pathtozionpodcast@gmail.com. This could change the life and heart of a man. You've been listening to and watching the Path to Zion podcast, where we are rediscovering the ancient way. Thank you so much for joining us today. Amen.